Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a little girl named Matilda. Matilda was an extraordinary child. From a very young age, she loved to read and learn. By the time she was 5, she had read every book in the children's section of the library. Her mind was sharp, and her heart was kind, but sadly, her parents didn't appreciate her at all. Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood were more interested in watching TV and making money than in their brilliant daughter. Matilda's father sold used cars, often tricking people to make more money, and her mother spent most of her days playing bingo. They never took Matilda seriously and often called her mean names. But Matilda didn't let that get her down. She found solace in books and her imagination. When Matilda turned 6, she started school. Her teacher, Miss Honey, quickly noticed that Matilda was no ordinary child. Miss Honey was kind and gentle, and she was amazed by Matilda's intelligence and love for learning. Unlike Matilda's parents, Miss Honey appreciated and encouraged her. But school wasn't entirely pleasant. The headmistress, Miss Trunchbull, was a terrible woman who terrified the students. She was incredibly strict and had no patience for children. She even had a special punishment room called the chokey, which was a narrow cupboard with sharp nails and broken glass where she sent children who misbehaved. Despite Miss Trunchbull's cruelty, Matilda stayed strong and clever. She even discovered she had a special power. She could move things with her mind. One day, when Miss Trunchbull was being particularly nasty, Matilda concentrated hard and made a glass of water tip over, spilling on Miss Trunchbull. No one knew how it happened, and it made Matilda realize she could use her power for good. Matilda decided to help Miss Honey, who had a sad story of her own. Miss Honey's parents had died when she was young, and Miss Trunchbull, her cruel aunt, had taken everything from her. She treated Miss Honey terribly and made her live in a tiny run-down cottage. Using her cleverness and special powers, Matilda devised a plan to help Miss Honey. She managed to scare Miss Trunchbull by making chalk write messages on the blackboard as if it were from Miss Honey's father, demanding that Miss Trunchbull return everything she had stolen. Frightened and believing she was haunted, Miss Trunchbull fled and never returned. Miss Honey moved back into her beautiful house, and the school became a much happier place without Miss Trunchbull. Matilda's parents, meanwhile, were planning to move to Spain to escape the police, who were investigating Mr. Wormwood's illegal car sales. They didn't care about Matilda's happiness, so Matilda asked if she could stay with Miss Honey instead. Surprisingly, her parents agreed, and Matilda went to live with Miss Honey, who adopted her. From that day on, Matilda's life was filled with love, learning, and happiness. She and Miss Honey became the family they had both always wished for. And Matilda continued to use her brilliant mind and special powers to do wonderful things. The end.